unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Errol Spence Jr. must leave the welterweight division if he ain't gonna fight Keith one time. You better not duck me, Thurman says one time. Thurman. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Yeah, we working. Head over to Patreon, link in the description, or the YouTube channel member. I appreciate y'all. Let's get to the thick of things. Keith One Time Thurman did an interview with the UK media and a podcast, and it was called Pep Talk UK, link in the description. And boy, oh boy, 31-year-old Keith Thurman had some things to say. This is a direct quote from Keith Thurman. Quote, I'm ready to get back in with this competition. My mind mentally would love a rematch with Manny Pacquiao. I think it's a worthy rematch and a deserved rematch. It's an epic fight. It's whatever doors will open. If I have to fight a Shawn Porter, Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia. Then he goes on to say this, but wait, there's more. I'd be surprised if Errol Spence hops on the table right away, but there are so many opportunities. He goes on to say it's hard for someone to show me an opportunity and watch me say no. I could maybe take a tune-up, but I like great fights and significant challenges. Whoever I fight, I know there's going to be a following. I want to make it worth my while. Those training camps are not easy. I want my opponent to be worthy of all the pain and suffering that is involved in the whole event and really be worthwhile. Right? Then he blames Errol Spence in a shocking, turn of events for the fight not happening. Keith Thurman says, everyone is gunning for him, Errol Spence, and if he wants to stay a champion, he's gonna have to answer to everybody or follow after his predecessor, and I'm assuming he's referring to Floyd Mayweather, and dodge everybody and pick who he chooses. Errol Spence, he's faced some of my competition, but he's never faced me. I did that with Errol when he fought Shawn Porter. I got a lot of people that think the way I beat Porter was better. Errol is going to have to give me respect one way or another. If he doesn't want to see me at 147 pounds, he's going to have to leave the division. Wow. Like, at this point, I don't really get shocked from boxing. Tyson Fury got all these glove gates, and you see just crazy stuff. Canelo and linked name with Jason Quigley and Toriano Johnson, according to ESPN, stuff like that. So I'm at the point where I never really get shocked too much in boxing, but this is, for lack of a better word, this is a bit weird coming from Keith Thurman, like out of all the people. And just full disclosure, I've always followed Keith Thurman's career. I've interviewed him. I like Keith Thurman, and I don't want to sound cliche and like, oh, I like him, and then say something crazy, but I have to let you know before I continue, because it's gonna probably sound like I've never liked Keith Thurman's career, because this is just foolishness. You know what I'm saying? It's just foolishness from Keith Thurman. Like, the most dangerous thing in this modern age with new media around is a camera and a microphone. And it seems to me that people in boxing are oblivious to this. Like, you get guys like, let's say Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was offered to host the Academy Awards, the Oscar Awards, and they being like this cancel culture. And they drudged up and dug up these tweets from Kevin Hart at a time where the world was different. Long story short, Kevin Hart, once these tweets resurfaced, they're deemed inappropriate for today's standard. So people looked at it and said, it's too much heat these different rights groups are angry. So Kevin Hart had to step down and step out of the way of, hosting the Oscars. So you see this cancel culture in society we live in, where people do hunting and, they check your past, all these Karens and stuff, people getting fired, different things like that. So it's crazy that in boxing, promoters and fighters do these interviews as if everybody has forgotten their pedigree. Everyone has forgotten past interviews and recordings and audios and podcasts in this digital space that they've done. Now, I'm going to play Keith Thurman. This is Keith Thurman way back 2 years ago. They did, it was a Showtime up front, and I got invited to it, and I didn't know what it was going to consist of, so I didn't go because it was all the way on a different coast. I'm in Cali, and it was in New York. So it was a one-day thing. So I was like, I don't know if I should go for one day. But I kind of wish I did, just because it would have been some good footage like this. But this was Keith Thurman back in 2018, and he was pushed into answering the question about Errol Spence. Let's hear what he had to say.
You know who's on the come up though? Errol Spence. We saw him Saturday night at Barclays Center. It was a dominant performance, and people are now salivating. You and he have them salivating. They want to see that fight. Are you going to torture us and make us wait, or are we going to see it at the end of 2018?
You're not going to see it at 18, baby. This is a get back year. This is a get back year. You're not going to be able to see it. I mean, I'm not going to step in once. There's a lot of competition. I believe Errol Spence is a great champion, but he can defend the title that he just acquired. He can defend that another time this year. I'm going to defend these this year. After that, I can expand, because I just became the unified champion, correct? I just became unified. He just became champion with his first title defense. I've yet to defend my unification, and I'm going to be defending it after an injury. So this is all the get back year. I hope later this year we can do an exciting fight for you, but it will not be EJ. EJ is to come in the near future, but not that soon. But it will not be EJ. But it will not be EJ. EJ.
Horrible. So once again, that's Keith Thurman out of his own mouth, out of the horse's mouth. He says, this is my get back year. I'm coming off an injury. It won't be EJ. He was asked a very direct question. Hey, are you going to keep the fans salivating over a potential Errol Spence Jr. fight? And you heard what Keith Thurman, everything he said sounded shaky. And, truth be told, I reported about this in real time when it happened. And some people were off of Keith Thurman based on that one interview and, that response. They're like, man, he don't want no smoke. Errol Spence smoked him out. And this was after Errol Spence, as you heard, had his title defense. So he was fighting Lamont Peterson. So he had beaten Peterson, and he had beaten Kell Brook for the belt. So there was really no reason, if Keith Thurman has this energy when he's no longer a champion, for Keith Thurman to have fronted on him. See, this is what they do to fighters, and Errol Spence got this royal treatment. And by royal, I don't mean in a good way, but Errol Spence, on his way up, he was eager to fight everybody. He was the boogeyman, and he was just looking too dangerous and too hungry and too good. So guys, they didn't want to fight him. Long story short, he had to prove himself. So if you look at interviews with Keith Thurman, I have all this stuff, all the data, all the talking points. And if you look at old interviews with Keith Thurman, before Errol became a champion, what he was saying was different. He was saying that indeed Errol needs to do more. He's only fought Bundu and things like that. He hasn't fought anybody. He beat Chris Algieri. That doesn't get you on the main stage. So Keith Thurman said that Errol Spence needed to acquire some names and or a belt, and that's what he have to do to join the talks and the conversation with the big boys. But then when that happened, it's called moving the goalpost. When that happened and Errol Spence Jr. Smashed Kell Brook with the chocolate brownie, so basically, realistically, let me fight with Errol. When he went to Sheffield, Kell Brook's backyard, smashed his other eye, and picked up where Golovkin left off. He took that belt, and a star was born. People said, okay, off a 9-month layoff, he went to some guy's backyard, didn't complain, didn't argue, didn't act like a diva, didn't, cry over money, just did the damn thing. And he had a stoppage in a good fight. It's not like a washed up version of Kell Brook showed up. Kell Brook was winning early rounds. You see what I'm saying? So he was in a real fight. Kell Brook was a big welterweight, and he did the damn thing. And people moved the goalposts. First, if you look at interviews before this one, Keith Thurman said he had to do something, fight a name. Then after he fought Kell Brook in his backyard and destroyed him, not to mention he had fought mutual opponents like Keith Thurman, like Bundu, but the difference being Errol Spence, when he fought Bundu, it did like some crazy number because it was after the Olympics. My memory is insane. After Errol Spence knocked out Bundu, they came out with the Nielsen viewership, and it was like 6 million people. So he got crazy views, and he knocked out Bundu, whereas Keith Thurman fought Bundu, but it wasn't his strongest performance on the undercard. He dropped Bundu and hurt him, and then Bundu was kind of tricky for Keith Thurman. So despite all this, despite getting the belt and fighting a Lamont Peterson, a sturdy name, and a guy that he dominated, Keith Thurman moved the goalpost on him and said, hey, it's not going to happen. This is my get back year. And subsequently, the funny thing and the irony of what Keith Thurman said is his get back year, if you go look at it, he actually didn't fight. He said, I'm coming off an injury. We're coming back light. And there kept being reports about when Keith Thurman was coming back. And his get back year, he must have meant that literally, because he got all the way back and didn't even fight in 2018. And then he came back in January of 2019 against Josecito Lopez, and he had been out of the ring so long, he almost got stopped in that fight. And then he retained his title and fought Pacquiao in the summer, and then he got dropped in the first round and lost to Pacquiao in a fun fight. So, for Keith Thurman to act like people forgot, I feel like Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot. And now he's acting big and Brody like Errol Spence has not been, checking his temperature for the last few years. Like, this is not on tape anymore. And it's just weird that people go that route. When Errol Spence was the boogeyman, he had to do more. He had to get a belt. He had to fight a name. Then Errol Spence did that, got a belt, beat Kell Brook, fought a name like Lamont Peterson, and there was still more from Keith Thurman. He's like, nah, me and EJ, not gonna happen, baby. 2018, you're not gonna see it, after being asked a direct question. Fast forward to the future, non-champion Keith Thurman, who's always injured like Derrick Rose, he's saying that, hey, Errol Spence got to fight me at 47 or he has to vacate and leave the division. It just sounds like crazy talk. It really does. It's like, you really going to sit up here and act like the last 5 years of your career and his career, we totally forgot everything that went on. I understand we're in the pandemic, but people don't forget. In the words of Superbad, the movie Superbad, no one forgets what just happened like that. So I don't even know what one time is talking about, but to me it's trifling. It's a bad look for him to act like he's chasing Errol Spence. Like it's like almost like some weird, boxing does this occasionally. These situations come up and it's like some weird Jedi mind trick, like the Eddie Murphy Mr. T joke. Heard you make some jokes about me, fool. No, you didn't. Okay, maybe I didn't. I'll beat up the fool that told me them lies. It's like some weird, like reverse psychology. Joshua did this, after all the steps that Wilder took and precaution, trying to get in the ring with Joshua. Joshua put out the restraining order where it said, hey, it's my ring. You can't get into my domain, and did all this. And Wilder smoked out Joshua. And to save face when fighters get embarrassed because they didn't, accept the work and try to get that ooh-wop, then they try to reverse it and make it look like the other person's ducking them. It's just, in this digital space with new media around, it's very hard to do that because this is not the 1920s. This is not the 50s, 60s. Sonny Liston, hit him with a left, hit him with a right. you know, where you got to just watch fights or just listen to them on a radio. This is, people have podcasts and, you know, information at your fingertips with all the stuff that's available online. You know, channels like mine that have pioneered the way. It's just, it's too much. And I think people are so used to the olden days of boxing. Back in the 90s, you could get away with something like this because there were no Instagrams and, you know, there was no MySpace and Twitter and YouTube. That stuff wasn't around. So you could just say something, and if people didn't have the wherewithal to remember what you said, and not even just that, they didn't have the capacity or the outlet to go against what you said. Like if Don King says something crazy on CBS or Fox or something, and you didn't even have a platform to get up and make a video and say, nah, Don King, you wrong. You said this in January, now you saying this in December. You didn't even have a platform to do that. So like I always say, digital mob, new media, this stuff is not going anywhere. People are not going to forget what you said. It's not really how it works. And I don't even know why Keith Thurman did this interview. Like, I don't care that he did the interview, but I don't know why he's saying this stuff, like trying to make it like Errol Spence don't want no smoke with him and got to see him. But if you look at it, last thing I'll say is Errol Spence got in a horrific car accident and is rumored to fight a big name like Danny Garcia or Pacquiao next. Most likely Danny Garcia. He's already training off of a crazy vehicular accident. Yet Keith Thurman had a get back year off of an elbow injury where he had surgery for it, and he didn't fight a whole calendar year. So no matter how you slice it, Keith Thurman looks like he's in the wrong, and this just looks wrong for him to come out like that. Once again, put this in perspective. Errol Spence has come off a life-altering, potentially life-threatening accident and is still looking for smoke at the top in the highest order, highest level, with Danny Garcia, respected two-time champion. And Keith Thurman came back to Jose Cito Lopez, no offense to him, but he struggled with him, you know? And then before that, he just didn't come back the whole 2018. So, you know, Keith Thurman could try to play this game, but new media, they know what was said and who said what. Let me know what you guys think. Keith Thurman switches it up. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.